Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. It's so good to be in a classroom again. I was teaching for 50 years, French and Latin, so don't get scared from my accent. It is influenced by 7 other languages. So I'll tell you the story of the English language. How did I learn it? Because I wasn't born in the United States. I was born in Romania, Transylvania. Anybody smiles when I say Transylvania? What do you know about Transylvania?
Vampires?
Uh-huh. Well, I am Dracula's niece. Don't I look it? I want you to smile because my story is not very pretty. But Transylvania is a very nice region of Romania. People speak there different languages because it was occupied by many other big countries like Germany, Austria, Hungary, Romania. Depends on who was the winner of the war. But it's a very nice community. Where is the map? I want to show them Romania. So it is the main language is Romanian. I was born in a small town. We had a small family, my father, my mother, my brother, and I. But my father had 11 siblings, and my mother had 4 brothers. They had children. I have aunts and uncles. I had cousins. Out of 39 members of our family in Romania, there were only 2 who survived, my mother and I. All the 37 members were killed by gas or by malnutrition or by a different kind of sickness like typhoid fever, and nobody came back. I was lucky that my mom came, and she lived till 101 in my house. She brought up my only child that I had in Romania, and I have now in the United States. That's why I'm here. So that was my only luck out of this, I don't want to say out loud, hell. Okay, so do we have Transylvania? Oh, that's great. This is Romania. It's called Romania because the Romans occupied Transylvania. Look at this. Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen? Yeah. Okay. Just to show you that even my town where I had my college later is Cluj. The second Cluj, C-L-U-J, Cluj. This is the only Cluj where we came back from, and when I finished, where I graduated was in Cluj. Otherwise, the town where I lived was a small town, Transylvania. Now you have to look at Romania, and then you see what happened during the Second World War. Where am I? France. This is to say Romania, but we were taken to Auschwitz, here up. From there, I tell you the rest where I went during the war and give it back to her. I'll get again from you. So you know where I was born, and you know that I was 13 years old when everything happened to me. 13 years old, and the Hungarians, who were the allies, the first allies to Hitler's war, took over the government of Romania, and it became Hungary. The whole Transylvania became Hungary. And with this signature of having the beautiful Transylvania, all the bad laws that Hitler had in the Nuremberg law system that came to Hungary, and they applied for the Jews. That hit us the most is that there was a law, no Jewish child has a school. We could not go to school. From kindergarten till college, no Jewish people could go to school. My parents were devastated. What will happen with our children? They will be all illiterate? They cannot continue their education? They were devastated. And again, I will stop always when it's important to notice. There was a famous mathematician in Transylvania who happened to be in that Cluj where I was talking about, and he had a priest on his side to go to the government, Hungarian government, and ask for any kind of building, any kind of place to have 1,200 children who were on the street without school, to ask for a building. A priest and a famous scientist who was a teacher, also mathematician. They went to the government and begged for a building. Luckily, they listened to them, and they gave not a school like this. Maybe in a classroom like this, there were 3-4 classes, and we were 42 in a class. 42 was the minimum that a teacher can have in a class. And we had a school. I talk about this so that you appreciate what you have. When I speak about horrors, you think of this, how happy we were in that school. Because we had a school. We could, you know, when you are sick one day or two, and you say to your mom, I want to stay home because he has a bad test, but she wants to stay home a day or two. Mom says, okay, sweetheart, stay home. But when you don't have school every day, you don't see each other every day, you don't see your teachers every day, it's hell, it's terrible. I tried it, it's not good. So we were very, very happy with this school. Never mind, boys and girls were separated, it was no co-ed. The teachers were badly paid. They were kicked out from their schools, so they came to teach in the only Jewish school of Transylvania. I tell this story because you have to know we had to do our very best to prove that we deserve this merit to have a school. And we worked from 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock and in the afternoon sometimes. It was hard, but we did it. One day, when I came home from school in Christmas time, I went home and I told my father what a great school we have. And he said, okay, tell me, what do you study there? And I told, we have science, we have math, we have geography and history, and we have languages. And he said, what kind of languages do you have? So I said, Romanian, it was Romanian, Hungary, the new owners of Transylvania, German, it was a must, Latin, Roman country, Latin, French, because French was for Romanians like Spanish in here. It's a must, French. And my father stopped me, said, where is English? I said, Dad, where would you put another language I was in the 7th grade that time, for a 7th grader. I don't care. I have 2 brothers in the United States, 2 sisters in the United States. They have children. Who is going to talk to them? The war will be over soon. It was in 1940. It will be over soon, and you just go back to your principal. Now, picture yourself, you go back to your principal. Sir, I want English. I want to learn English. He looked at me, said, Clara, we have 5 languages here. Where would you put another one? I said, I don't care. My father wants me to learn English. So he said, wait a second, maybe the German teacher might have a minor of English, it's English-German. Sure enough, he asked, and the teacher could teach English. She was prepared. I was the only one who asked for English after school. And in no time, next day, there were 30 others who wanted to learn English. So at 5 o'clock, that day already we started English 3 times a week at 5 o'clock after a long day of studying other things. Isn't that a miracle? So that's where I started English. If my English is not good enough, especially my accent is still there, never mind that I had 4 years of English in college, but it's still there. The Hungarian accent is dominant. If you don't understand something, please interrupt me in the middle of speech, because I will try to repeat it for you so you understand. This was in 1940, and I was in school till 1944, in May. This is why the Remembrance Days are in April, because May we were already in Auschwitz. But in March we were sent home from school, and no more school, private or public, nothing. Go home. We have other purpose, other goal with you Jews. So we went home. We were not happy, but we were at home and with my family. In May 3rd, there was an order that we should wear yellow star and get out of our home May 3rd, and we go somewhere. We didn't know where. From 1 hour to another, we did not know where do we go. They told us we have to leave the house. The soup was on the oven, the meal was cooked, but we couldn't take anything with us, only some luggages with luggages, one for everybody, to take with us, and some dry foods, beans, potatoes, flour, and we'll see where we will cook. This was May 3rd. We were already, everybody has his luggage. The guy, the gendarme, which is equivalent of a policeman, looked at us and he noticed a wedding ring on my mom's hand. We were supposed to give every valuables what we had, to give them the business, them. When I talk them, is the authority of Hungarian or Germans who took care of us. So he noticed the ring. How come you have still your wedding ring? Didn't you give to the bank? No receipt, but did you give it to the bank? Well, my marriage, I'm married for 25 years, said my mother. I'd like to keep it. No way. That's my family. No way. Took off the ring, put it in his pocket. You will not have a family. You will not have a house. You better give it to me. But she didn't give it. He took it. Just picture yourself. How would you feel? This was nothing compared to what happened later. But we were sad. We went to the railway to the station, and they took us to a ghetto. And I want to know if you know what is a ghetto.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Just a place where they put all the Jews in?
Yeah, ghetto was an isolated place. Sometimes a whole district was taken when there were too many Jews. Or there was a brick factory. For us, the town where I was from, it was a brick factory. Big, huge factory for 10,000 people. We slept on the floor. We separated our family with the blankets that we brought from home. 16, our family, my uncle and our family together, 16, in a place like this, and day by day we waited for new orders. They happened to find out that in the brick factory there were no toilets for 10,000 people. No bathrooms, no toilets, no restrooms. There were some bushes, that's it. They made a big meeting to decide to build latrines for the same. Anybody knows what is a latrine?
Bathroom?
It's a bathroom trench that is 1 yard wide, 1.5 yards deep. And people would stand, or old people would sit if they had anything, a chair, and in front of everybody, sorry you are eating, number 1 and number 2, it was a bathroom for us. Now, from the meeting, they chose tall boys, 1, 2, 3, 6 boys who were supposed to dig this trench. One of them was my boyfriend. This time, at 17, I had a boyfriend. He was 19. He was chosen. He was a good-looking, tall boy. And he stood there with the 6 others and said, I refuse to do this. This is subhuman. Even my dog, if he has to do number 1 and number 2, goes to a shade. This is not hygienic. And he made a speech. He was 19 years old. I refuse to do it. You know what they did? They chose 2 men from the crowd and they hanged him to a tree. Now, how would you feel to see your boyfriend hanging to a tree? And they said, they hanged him, his toes hardly reaching the ground, and he said, this is what we can do. Whoever refuses any kind of order coming from the German officials or Hungarians, and more we can do to prove that you cannot refuse this. He didn't die. They took him, they cut him off after 20 minutes when he fainted, but this boy was never how it was before. He was depressed, he was humiliated, terrorized, you name it. I thought that this will be the worst that could happen to us, to see this. Anyway, this lasted for 30 days. We ate what we brought from home on 3 or 4 bricks, not barbecue like yours. We had a kind of bread from flour and salt, whatever we could do there in one dish. I don't talk about this because this was nothing compared to what happened, but this was the ghetto. There is a ghetto now too, they call it Harlem Ghetto in New York, but that's a free place now, and it's just called that way, that mostly blacks are living there, but that was not our ghetto. This was May 31st, or maybe June the 1st, when we were taken to Auschwitz with cattle cars. They read, they know what is a cattle car? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So cattle cars, 70 people in one wagon. My father could reach the 2 windows, where he could see that we are not anymore in our country. We are somewhere else. We couldn't reach, we didn't see, we didn't have, again, toilets in the wagon. It was, you could hear the kids crying, Mom, I'm hungry, Dad, give me a little water. It was terrible. 3 days. And we arrived to Auschwitz. I want to show them Poland. So here we are in Europe. Romania is here. Look at this grave, Romania. And then we were in Auschwitz. In the little map is not that far, but this is somewhere in Poland, Auschwitz. That's a town I never heard of. Nobody knew what it was. It was a concentration and extermination camp. Concentration because the Jews from all Europe, almost all Europe, were taken there. We were the last batch from Hungary. They needed us. This was 1944, almost the end of the war. The Allies were already in between England and France, but nothing happened to them. We were there to stay and selected who can work and who should die. We don't know, we didn't know how, but the night when we arrived at 11 o'clock, there was a famous angel of death called a German whose name was Mengele. And we stepped out from the wagons, we left everything there. They said, we'll get it back, the big luggages. Now they are in museum. We got out, and there was like a baton, like a long stick, left, right. Those he commanded, these people go to right, these people go to left. First, young from old, then men from women, separated completely. I saw the last time my father, he was waving. My brother was angry, he did not look back, but my father was waving, saying, we will see you tomorrow. The war will be soon over. I never saw him again. We were separated, then came the women. From the women, the young ones to the right, the old ones to the left. If they had a little child, even if she was young, she was taken to the left. Later on, I must tell you this, later on these people were taken to gas chambers immediately. We didn't know that. Those who were to the right, they wanted to use them, I would call it slave labor, because they didn't pay anything for it. And we worked in gunpowder factories, in light factories, wherever they needed, we were useful for them. Luckily, my mom was young, 44 years old. She was pushed to the right with me. She's the only mother out of 70 people who were in the wagon. She was the only mother who was pushed to the right. And that's how she survived, because that was life. We worked, and they wanted us to live. Even if they gave us maybe 700 calories a day, but we survived, Mom and I. This was in Auschwitz. Then came the next shock for me. I had long hair like this young lady. They shaved us, our hair, like our forehead was our hair. It was very smart, because we couldn't have lice in our hair. That was the. But when they shaved my hair, and my mother stood next to me and said, where is my child? She wouldn't recognize me without the hair that I had. Brown, long hair, like yours and yours. Now how would you feel? The crown of a girl, our hair, we take care of it. And I told the woman who was shaving, how could you do this? You even sing while you are doing this. She says, so I saw my mother and my father killed in Poland in front of me. How would I keep my sanity to do this work day by day if I don't sing? So I started to cry, and I said, okay, go ahead, whatever. But she felt sorry after that. She told me, just get out from Auschwitz. Whatever you can do, just get out. So we had every single day roll call where there were other separations and selections. Luckily, after 8 days, I don't even have a tattoo, because I was only 8 days in that terrible place, that's Auschwitz. And we were selected to go somewhere else, finally, to work, to produce. They took us from Auschwitz to Riga,
Do you want me to get that map?
No, I think I can show it to them, just the country where it is. See, this is the Scandinavian. You had geography. This is here, Lithuania, or capital is Riga. See this? This is the Baltic Sea. This was Auschwitz. No, it's my fault.
No, it wasn't. It's
No, I
okay.
touched it.
No, it's not supposed to be interactive.
No, that was it. That's Romania. I just want to show, because Riga is still there. The Kaiserwald, the camp, which was outside of Riga, was 10,000 people who worked in different factories, and we worked in a gunpowder factory. The Germans did know. Can I have that? Okay, this is Europe. Here it is. A small country. Here is Finland and Estonia and Lithuania and Lithuania. You're right near the border of Russia, which is the borderline, and on the other side is Germany, East Prussia and Germany. Okay, so there we worked in a gunpowder factory. But the Germans knew already that time how to recycle. We do recycling here, so you know what it is. We recycled big batteries. You know those big batteries that we use for flashlight. We had to cut it, and inside of the battery there was a kind of sticky material that next day became gunpowder. So we put separately the aluminum and the wires, and we took out that messy stuff. But we worked from 6 o'clock at night till next day 6 o'clock. 12 hours. At your age, could you do it without sleeping? We couldn't. 60 women at a table. The factory was maybe half of this place. 60 women at a table. We worked with recycling batteries, and our work was very important. We had an old Nazi who supervised us, and every day when we fell asleep at 12 o'clock, we couldn't keep our eyes open, we were not used to it. He came around and hit everybody to wake up. Do the work. We are in the middle of the war. We want to win the war. And he went around and hit everybody. Wake up, wake up. But we still couldn't produce. One day, after 2 weeks, he came to me and he said, "You little girl, you speak German. Maybe you'd sing German also. Do you know a German song? When it's dark, getting dark, you have to sing that song." I said, "Yeah, I know 2 songs. One was a lullaby, which they didn't need to have a lullaby, and one a love song of Lehar." I know that because my father was a singer, but he couldn't do that. He had to come home and take care of the business. His father died. But he was a frustrated musician, and he taught us in every language that was composed, an Italian aria or a German, you have to learn at least 1 or 2 songs. And that was my luck. Because at night, when everybody was trying to sleep, I started to sing that song. And people woke up, they sang along, and we weren't beaten up ever after. Now this was a Nazi. Not all Germans were bad. I want you to know, and my aim to coming you, I wanted to prove you that there were some Christians, there were some Nazis who were more human and felt sorry for us, and they found out some way what can they do to produce and not to beat up these people every day. I will have 3 examples. How much time do I have?
We have till, I think we have 10 more minutes.
Okay, that's fine. I want to give them some time for questions.
Okay.
This was one example that saved us from being beaten up every day. We didn't last too long there. The Russians were coming from east, and they evacuated us because they didn't want to show the Russians what the Nazis did to us. Then they took us to another camp, another selection, another by ship, a merchandise ship. We were 3,000 on a ship from Riga to the next lager. And finally from there we were taken to our big work, and that was anti-tank trenches against Russian tanks. Anybody knows what is an anti-tank trench? It's in the word. It's against the tanks, Russian tanks. 6 yard wide, 6 yard deep. 1,000 women had to go every day from 7 o'clock till night 7 o'clock to dig these trenches because the Russians were coming. They were going to meet in Berlin. One day my mom was very sick. She lost about 30 pounds already in Riga, in Auschwitz. It was terrible. Somebody warned me, a mechanic warned me, Clara, watch out. Your mother will be selected tomorrow. We didn't know what selection means, but we were afraid that she will be separated from me. She looks very pale. He brought me a little red paper to put on her face so she would look better or younger. Next day, the German SS who was made the selection stopped in front of her, and he said, you can do this. You don't work fast enough. You can. He said, how old are you? So Mom said 39. He said, oh, yeah, 39. You better continue to work. You can't just go and die. So she was saved again. One day she felt very bad. Really, she couldn't go to work, she said. I went to the only doctor, a dentist, and I said, please keep her in the tent. At least it was November, rain and terrible. And she said, no way. We have 1% can stay in the tent where people died. That was their hospital. And if that number is taken, just go. Now, just imagine. We are working, and a guy, not an SS, a guy, a Hitlerjugend, came around and saw my mother not working very fast. He started to beat her wherever he could. You old bag, you don't work fast enough. I can't let you do this. Go ahead and work. When I was in the bottom of the tank, anti-tank trench, I came out and faced him. And I said, you can't do this. This woman works from the morning till night with the food that you are giving to her. Stop it. This is my mother. I usually didn't brag with that, but my mother. Don't you have a mother? He said, I have a mother, but she's German. In other words, everybody else should drop that. But he stopped and left. He stopped beating my mother. He was about 16 years old, like me, but he was supervisor, all of us. Everybody yelled at me, why did you do it? They will bring the guards. I didn't care, because at night when I felt the bruises of my mother, I said, at least he stopped beating her. Next day, the boy came directly to where we worked with a carrot in his hand and half of a cigarette. He said, eat this carrot, it has some vitamin in it. Smoke this cigarette, you'll be less hungry. I was plenty hungry. But the fact that he came back apologizing of what he did to my mother gave me hope that not everybody he treats like Hitler wants us to be treated. That not every Christian is against Jews. He realized that we are human beings also. Second guy who saved us from further beating up. January 19th, it was my birthday. Again, they told us that we'll take everybody from this camp. Out of 1,000 women, there were about 500, 200 maybe could walk, the rest they would stay because the Russians are coming. It was a roll call, again, who can walk and who cannot. My mother had a little package in her hand, an old newspaper, I don't know who threw it in the anti-tank trench, and she said, Clara, you are 18 years old, I have a present for you. And I asked, what kind of present in concentration camp? And I opened the newspaper package. There were 3 slices of bread. Between the slices there was margarine that we got in the morning, 1 little box of margarine. And she made a layer cake to her daughter for her 18th year birthday. I said, Mom, where did you get the bread? We had only 1 slice a day. And if we ate in the morning, the whole day we were hungry. She said, you didn't eat last night your portion. I didn't eat my portion. I could eat the stone, I was so hungry all the time. She didn't eat for 3 days to make a birthday cake for her daughter. Think of your mother. Now, don't ever criticize her that the food is too hot or too salty. This is the lesson I want you to learn, to respect that lady who is constantly alert of your needs. If you want another blouse because Susan has one, forget about it. If she doesn't have the money, forget about it. Do you promise?
Promise.
From now on, a mother can do a lot of things for you. She's always loving and she tries her best. Even in that situation when a mother did not have a role. Anyway, we were selected to walk for 2 days. We were notified that for 2 days we stayed there and we continue, but not day and night. Most of us, we found a farm where people left, we don't know, Polish or German. They left and it was all for us, the farmhouse and the stable. And in the stable were 150 people. Rest we went to the farmhouse and I overheard the 12 guards who were with us, what happens to these people. One guard said, let's burn them in the stable. There is enough straw there. Another said, let's shoot them. There was an old guy who thought, he answered, no way, I am not going to burn them. The whole region will smell of flesh. No. Another one said, let's shoot them. Again, the old guy said, no, I will use the bullets that I have to protect myself and not them. The rest is more interesting. I don't know what happened because I fell asleep. But then they left. In the morning at 4 o'clock, we didn't find any guard. From there, where I showed you, we walked for 3 months. There was no transportation. The war was not over yet. And we walked home for 3 months, stopping in attics. We slept. Some people gave us some food. But we wanted to go back to Transylvania. The Transylvania now was Romania. And we reached our home empty. A piano that wasn't taken, it was too heavy. A couple of beds and nothing there. Next day, my Christian friends, there were no Jews in the town, my Christian friends came to visit, those who were my classmates a year ago. Not a year ago, because I went to different school. But one came and brought my velvet dress, Sweet 16 dress. Didn't have panties or anything, just a prisoner's dress. But I had a velvet dress. Another brought my accordion. He hid the accordion in the ground for 3 months. The box was in shambles, but the accordion lived till I left Romania in 1962. These were my Christian friends. One was a priest's daughter, the other. They had notes for me because I stopped my sophomore year. We were sent home, remember, no more school. Sophomore year I have to recuperate, and the junior year in order to get to my regular senior year class. Those people helped me with their notes. There were no books during the war, but they kept their notes, tutored me, and I took both classes, and in September I went to my senior year. I went to college for 4 years, I got married, I had a child.
Sorry, we are on a shortened day.
And I'm here to tell you the story. Don't let this happen again. Promise? Fight against prejudice, against hatred, be an upstander against injustice, hatred. No more things like Auschwitz. Any questions? Can you keep them?
We're on a short, we're gonna have to, I'm gonna take you down to the principal's office.